Hello, my fellow hirelings of House Telvanni. I'm Neloth, and spoiler alert, the Fallout TV show is good. Like, really good. In the sense that any other video game adaptation needs to take notes on the Fallout TV show in order to avoid making another mistake like the, Halo TV show. Ugh. Now, I want to be very clear, I really like this show and many other people love it too. However, with how much I love it, I also see a lot of glaring issues and problems that I personally have with the show that I am also going to voice, like some small retcons, some odd scenes, and some straight up storylines I just really didn't enjoy. So, this video is going to be split up between the non-spoiler section and then the spoiler section, and know that a lot of my gripes with this show will be more in the spoiler section, and a lot of the things I love will be in the non-spoiler section. Now let's dive right in with first, the world, the sets, and most of the outfits are basically a shot-for-shot recreation of how they are in the games. The vaults especially are nigh identical with the vaults we see in Fallout 4, to the point where some shots make you think you're actually either playing the game itself or watching a really well-edited video in the Fallout 4 game. So many props and sets are mirrored from the games as well, to the point where your arm is going to be numb from the amount of times you recreate the Hollywood pointing meme, from stim packs to guns, and even a fucking red rocket gas sign. Which is a little silly because I feel the gas prices in Boston and California would be way too different, but it's whatever. The fact that they pulled it directly from Fallout 4 is just super nice and shows that the showrunners are paying very close attention. In fact, there is so much detail that Timothy Kane, one of the head guys for Fallout 1, said that many background characters, or at least a few, were fans of Fallout and were encouraged to bring their knowledge of Fallout into their characters, to the point where, supposedly, one of them was using a certain walk cycle that was seen in either Fallout 1 or 2. That, if that's true, that kind of small detail is fucking amazing. And you would never see that shit in the Halo TV show, I can tell you that for certain. And that scene where they showed the bombs being dropped at the very beginning of the show, it was so cold and terrifying, especially the foreshadowing and build-up leading to the bombs falling. Say what you will about the show, but they nailed that bomb scene far better than Fallout 4 ever could. And I'm of the unpopular opinion that Fallout 4 has one of the best intros in the entire series. Fallout is also known for being very gory, where if you shoot someone in the head, it will explode into 1,000 pieces, or if you have a really big power fist, you can punch someone into literal paste. And the Fallout TV show has that gore, and it does it impressively. Now, I'll get into the characters in a second, but one of the main characters in one of the first episodes, either the first or second one, actually does a bunch of slow motion scenes shooting his gun and the bullets slow motion going through people, like going through people's bodies and their skulls. It's just so fucking great, and I'm not a fan of slow motion, but I would really like to see far more slow motion in the Fallout TV show, just because it works well because of the whole VAT system that's seen in the actual games. Speaking of characters, no character is safe in this show. I'm not going to get too much into it, but there are characters that you will see in this show that lose their fucking legs, fingers, you name it. No one's safe, and I love that because it actually adds stakes to every single character. You have no idea what is going to happen, and that makes watching the show all the more thrilling. Now, I want to talk about the main characters of the show. The show focuses on 4 characters that I would like to qualify as the main characters. You have the Vault Dweller Lucy, her brother Norm, Cooper Howard, who is the Ghoul, and the Brotherhood of Steel Soldier Maximus. Now, I love 3 out of these 4 characters. I really love Lucy and her innocence and optimism, how she navigates the world and attempts to de-escalate conflict in a very humorous way, and it also fits her character rather well. The show also shows how she practices martial arts and shooting guns, so when she is actually fighting people, it makes perfect sense how she can handle herself, and she isn't seen as a quote-unquote Mary Sue. Cooper Howard, the Ghoul, is absolutely the best iconic character in this show, and there is a reason why he is everyone's favorite. His dialogue is great, and his past and present day storylines were both really compelling because, yes, we get to go back into the past and actually see the pre-war world through the eyes of Cooper Howard. And also, it's just so interesting to see how dramatically his character's morals shift from past to present day, from the movie star who has a wife and kid to a bloodthirsty bounty hunter, and I mean the bloodthirst part very literally. Norm is a character that I was actually really surprised by. I originally wrote him off in the first episode as some side character we would likely never see again, or he would die like immediately or some shit like that. But he really grew on me and became an absolute highlight of the story, investigating the mysteries of his vault. Honestly, every single character in Vault 33 is phenomenal, and the mystery along with the humor of every character we see is just so good. And there is one character in the show. His name is Davey, he has a rock-hard mustache, and he has a very, very special place in my heart. I love that man, and I would die and kill for this man. He is so... I fucking love him. Again, the Vault 33 stuff is just so great. Now, if you remember, I said that I liked 3 of these 4 characters. And that's because, if you've seen the show, you probably know what I'm about to talk about. I really, really, really fucking hated Maximus in this show. I'll talk more about him in the spoiler section, but every choice this guy makes is either really stupid or just really fucking evil and selfish. And combined with his personality, he becomes my most unlikable character in this entire show. Also, if you're watching this show expecting Maximus to be a real Brotherhood Forever type character similar to Paladin Dance or Star Paladin Cross, you will be quite disappointed because he is anything but. Which is strange because you can tell that he wants to be a real true Brotherhood character, but there is a very specific plot line that happens in the show where all of his motivations just change with the snap of your fingers, all for some little haha jokes of him eating oysters and shit. It's so weird, and the entire humor falls flat and really just destroys any likability I could have had for Maximus. Although this show is getting a season 2, and it seems very clear that Maximus is going to be in it as well, and if so, not if so, he will be in the show, and I really hope they try and change his character up a bit and make him more likable, because he just is not working for this show. Speaking of Maximus and his ties to the Brotherhood of Steel, I really liked how the Brotherhood of Steel were portrayed. There were some people that were unhappy with the power armor they used and the airship we saw in the first episode, but understand that the Brotherhood of Steel has used many metal airships in the past. In fact, in Fallout 4, a Brotherhood of Steel member named Captain Kells says that the Brotherhood has used airships back west, and well, here they are. I thought the power armor was fine, but I do understand why people were complaining about the T-60 stuff. I personally would have preferred if we saw the Brotherhood of Steel with the T-51 power armor, which I always felt was far more iconic and better looking, but, you know, it's whatever. It's fine. It's a very minor complaint. What I don't think is a minor complaint, however, is the power armor itself is very odd how it uses these weird thrusters that we've never seen before on the arms, and when people talk through the power armor, their voices are just unnecessarily deep. Like, I'm completely fine with them being robotic because that's how they are in literally every Fallout game, but it's just way too deep in my opinion. You could just say that, oh, the Brotherhood of Steel modified the armor to be this way with the jetpacks, thruster arm things, and the deepness of the voice, but I just don't like it. You can barely understand what people in the power armor are even saying, to the point where you kind of need subtitles because there's some dialogue that will just go completely over your head. Now, I think it's time to move on from all of that and focus more on the story itself. And the overall story is really simple at first, but I really do like the simplicity. The story is very similar to Fallout 3 at the beginning, where Lucy sets out to find her father, but I think the whole family finding your daddy plot works so much better in a televised setting than that of a video game setting like Fallout 3. Now, the story, I think, does take a slip towards the end, as there is a whole plot in a completely different vault called Vault 4, and I just do not like it at all. Nothing really happens during that time, and all the humor involved in the vault is just very flat compared to every other point in the TV show. And I'll talk more about why it doesn't work in the spoiler section, but just know that that whole plot line, nothing really happens or changes the characters in any way. It just feels like filler. Also, I think my favorite storyline had to do with the mysteries of Vault 33, which should say something, as I usually don't give much of a fuck about investigation mystery stories, but it was just done in such a compelling way, and you had all the Vault Dwellers. I already talked about this, but I just love it so much. Another plot point I actually loved was Cooper Howard, the Ghoul, in both his pre-war and post-war scenes, as they're just really compelling, and we can see how different the pre-war world looks to that of our actual real world, and how much corporations have taken over. I mean, fuck, there is a Nuka-Cola sign right below the Hollywood sign. It's too bad the West likes Sunset Sarsaparilla more, but meh. Now, I really want to dive deep into the spoiler section of this video, where I talk about and rant about some of the things that involve heavy spoilers. So, if you've come this far, I'm just going to assume that you've already watched the show or simply don't give a fuck about spoilers. So, here we go. First, let's talk about the big one. The fact that the show kind of answered the big old question of who actually dropped the bombs on the world. And they just throw it out there that it's Vault-Tec. Now, this bothers me because that question has been debated about for years. Maybe it was China, or maybe it was that Skynet bot in Fallout 4. It could have been the Enclave, or something even more wild like Ugg-Qual-Toth or the fucking aliens, but nope, it was answered that it was Vault-Tec that wanted to bomb the world. And I feel this sucks because it ruins a lot of the mystery around the world, which keeps people more interested in the lore and leads to cool and interesting debates. It's like if in the Elder Scrolls they just randomly revealed what happened to the Dwemer, and that they were actually just chilling in some outer realm sipping skooma or some shit. It just feels a little lame. Now, to be fair, Vault-Tec just planned to drop the bombs in this scene that we saw, as we haven't seen them literally perform the act on bombing all of America and the world and so on. So you could still argue that any of the other entities or individuals I mentioned did indeed drop the bombs. Perhaps someone just beat Vault-Tec to the punch. Another thing I disliked was how in the Vault-Tec meeting where they discuss dropping the bombs, we see for a few minor scenes, Mr. House from Fallout New Vegas, Robert Edwin House himself. At first, you might think it's not that big of a deal, just a really cool cameo, and the line he says to Frederick Sinclair about his beloved Sierra Madre is just so in character for him, and the showrunners should get major props for that. However, I really thought that it ruined the character of Mr. House and the game of Fallout New Vegas far more than you might think. Originally in lore, Mr. House stated that he predicted the end of the world, and pretty accurately too, and started planning on protecting himself and all of Las Vegas. However, now that Robert House was present at the meeting, not only did he just know the world was going to end instead of predicting it, but he was also complacent in the deaths of millions of people and responsible for some of the profane vault experiments. I also feel that this ruins the Mr. House ending in Fallout New Vegas, because originally his was more of a good/neutral ending, but now I would say that his ending is worse than even the Caesar's Legion ending, because he was responsible for the deaths of millions of people. Caesar's Legion may be sexist, nationalist slavers, but they're simply just a product of the end of the world that Mr. House was complacent in and possibly responsible for. Now, while I despise Mr. House being present at this meeting, I really did like how we had representatives from Vault-Tec and Big Mountain as well. Although now it feels a little weird knowing that the Vault-Tec experiments weren't really deliberate, but were just ideas thrown out by a bunch of rich sociopaths. Moving away from the corporation stuff, I also really disliked all of the Vault 4 scenes, as I said earlier, because it just felt like a complete waste of time, and it also assassinated Maximus's character from being a man who wants to climb up the ranks of the Brotherhood to falling in love with the Vault and staring at a TV while eating oysters, all for the sake of a funny ha-ha humorous joke, which just makes Maximus an even worse character in the show than he already was. The experiments in Vault 4 also just really made no sense to me. Apparently, women were engineered to give birth to fishes and other monsters, including people with a cyclops eye or glowing blue eyes or a nose on a forehead or whatever, but it just felt really weird and more Rick and Morty humor rather than Fallout humor, and it just didn't fit the world in my opinion. You could say that they just used the FEV to create those people, but they never actually said it, and how they actually had these women give birth to the fish, at least from what I can tell, is not explained. Maybe they did explain it and I forgot, but it just felt odd. And aside from one small conflict involving Lucy hitting a bunch of people in the vault, nothing actually happens and everyone stays okay, and Lucy and Maximus leave the vault all fine, and the entire plot just felt like filler and very pointless. That's not to say that every side story in the show is a waste of time. You have the super duper Mart scene with Lucy and the ghoul that is actually really cool and progresses both characters. Some people don't like the drug that the ghouls are taking to make sure that they don't become feral. However, whenever you play Fallout 4's Nuka World DLC, we can actually see that ghouls that were originally not feral are now becoming feral after more than 200 years. And seeing as how the TV show takes place in 2296, which is way later than Fallout 4 was, it actually makes sense that these ghouls could actually now be turning feral, and people are developing drugs created by the feral ghouls that they capture and create from, to actually make sure that these normal ghouls stay normal. The last thing I disliked was how such an important location like Shady Sands was just blown up, and we never really got to see the city or grow attached to it in any way via the show. It just gets blown up off screen, which I found to be really lame. I also got really confused about the character Moldova, because at first you think she's just a regular raider, but then towards the end of the show she's apparently in the NCR, but that's never really explained, so it's just confusing. Additionally, we see Moldova in both the pre-war and post-war scenes, and unlike other characters like Hank McClane, she hasn't aged a day. Fucking how? How was she locked up in a fridge? Was she maybe worshipping Ugg-Qualtoth and became immortal? We don't fucking know. And I don't know if we'll ever truly know how she was able to stay alive, because now Moldova is dead. I really wish they either fleshed out the story more or added another episode, because the final episode just wasn't of the quality that the others were and left me more confused than satisfied. And I really do hope that Season 2 will better explain Moldova, at least in the pre-war scenes, which I hope they'll have. Now, I know I'm being extremely negative, but I do want to reiterate that there are so many other scenes in the show that I thought was really good. The Elder, especially in the Brotherhood of Steel, I don't think gets a lot of recognition, but the way he acts and the way he talks to Maximus, I thought was really good. All of the cities, like the one in Philly and all that, I thought were really, really good. I just have an issue with some of these really big things that kind of just throw the whole story down. And unfortunately, at first, I thought this was going to be an easy 9 out of 10, but unfortunately, I feel like I'm just going to have to subtract quite a few points, maybe 2 or 3, because of these really big things that I just did not like that happened towards the end. Now, before I give my rating and end this video, I feel like I should discuss some of the weird theories and controversies surrounding this show, especially because I've been more negative on this show than many other people have been, and I feel like I'm in a unique place to talk about them. There is one quote-unquote theory that Bethesda is trying to use this show to retcon Fallout New Vegas and make it non-canon and obsolete because Bethesda is jealous of Obsidian and their work. And this is an interesting theory. However, by all accounts, Bethesda doesn't really seem to be jealous of Fallout New Vegas and has even mentioned the NCR in Fallout 4 in Kellogg's backstory. Oh, and another big spoiler here, but we fucking see New Vegas in the end scene! If Bethesda really wanted to retcon New Vegas out of existence, then I feel like they wouldn't go out of their way to showcase Mr. House in that one scene with Vault-Tec, and then show all of New Vegas in the end scene. To be fair though, I am concerned about how they are going to portray New Vegas, as when we see it in the post-credits, it looks pretty dead and uninhabited, as if Elder Elijah had his way and smoked all of New Vegas using the cloud. I don't really enjoy the prospect of seeing New Vegas though, as I would highly prefer that our choices as the courier be respected and the fate of New Vegas left in the air, rather than having one of the endings canonized. And I feel that if we see a deserted New Vegas, then our choices in the game would just feel very meaningless, as if nothing truly mattered. Now, again, I do think that this show has a few problems with retcons and changing certain environments and characters inexplicably, but I doubt this is all some conspiracy attempt to erase New Vegas and Obsidian's work from existence because of fucking jealousy. New Vegas is a highly regarded game by almost everyone, and I'm sure it has made some buckets of cash as well, so the idea that they would axe it is just fucking stupid as hell. Maybe I'm on skooma, but the whole, oh, they're just jealous argument is the most middle school shit I have ever heard. Now I think it's time for my verdict. What exactly would I rate the Fallout TV show after laying everything out? Well, first, I would like to say that I have said a lot more negative things about this show than positive, but I want to reiterate that there is so much good about this show and some amazing humor as well, with the exception of Vault 4. Even with its flaws, I really do see this show as a shining example of what video game adaptations should do, and I hope that Season 2 of the Fallout TV show will correct or avoid many of the mistakes that I have mentioned and saw in this season. So I am officially giving this show a 7 out of 10. This show is absolutely phenomenal and fits the Fallout world to a T. However, it was amazing in the first half, but once we got to episode 5, the quality of the show really started to dip. But even then, it is still a really good show, and I still cannot recommend it enough, even after being as harsh as I was. And I really am excited for Season 2, and I can't wait to review that season as well. And that's all I wrote. My review of the Fallout TV show. I hope you enjoyed and you found this video to be informative. And with all that being said, make sure to like the like button, like the subscribe button, and like the bell notification down below to be updated on future videos. And I will see you whenever the fuck I decide to upload again. House Telvanni be with you.
Please, O hero of Skyrim, I shall be ever so grateful.